In this video, we are going to conquer electron configuration. There are many ways to do electron configuration, but when you're just learning, you start with the orbital diagrams and move up from that. We are going to learn using orbital diagrams and just writing out the electron configurations. The first example we're going to do with orbital diagrams is scandium. The first thing you want to do is get your periodic table and look at how many electrons scandium has. So when you're looking at this periodic table, you find scandium, it's right there. It's got that number 21 up there, which means it has 21 protons. So that is how many electrons it has. Okay, so we can put that back. All right, so we know that scandium has 21 electrons. So we'll write that there. And then we start doing the electron configuration. We always start at the lowest energy level, and I have these arrows over here that are going to show me what order to put everything in. So I just follow the arrow, and the arrow shows me the order that I need to go. So we start with 1s right there. So we write 1s. And because this is orbital, we're going to make a line. We're going to put 2 electrons in that first orbital. The s orbital can have, the s sublevel has 1 orbital with 2 electrons. And then if you look at the next arrow, it's 2s. I make 1 orbital, and I'm going to fill that up. I have to keep doing this until I get to 21. So that's 2s. And then we're going to go to 2p. So you go back to the next arrow, and it's 2p. Now 2p has 3 orbitals, and you fill them one at a time and then pair them up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at this point I have 10. I need 21, so I keep going. The next energy level is the 3s. So I'm right here, 3s. So we write 3s, 1 orbital, and we're going to fill that up. So we're at 10, 11, 12. And then after 3s is 3p. So you write 3p with 3 orbitals. So we've got 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we still are not there. So after 3p comes 4s. You make a line for the orbital. That's 18, 19, 20. After 4s is 3d. And there's 5 orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we have 1 electron to put in there. So that is the orbital diagram for scandium. Okay, so let's look at selenium. So once again, the first thing we have to do is look at our periodic table and see how many electrons does selenium have. So we're looking for selenium. There it is. It has 34 electrons. Okay. So now that we have that information, we can set that aside. 34 electrons. That's how many we have to represent in our electron configuration. And this is the orbital one, so we have to do the lines. Now, if you look over at the triangles, or that, I guess they're not, the arrows. These arrows are going to help me know which energy level to put next. So I start here with the 1s. So that's the first one I start with, 1s. So we put 1s, 1 orbital, because the s has 1 orbital, and we're going to fill it up, 2 electrons. And then I look over at the arrows again to tell me where I need to go next, and it's 2s. So 2s. draw my orbital, one orbital, and put my 2 electrons. And then look over at the arrows, and the next one I go to is 2p. So we have 2p. 2p has 3 orbitals, and I need 34 electrons, so I'm just going to fill this up because I know it's going to be filled because that's only 10 electrons right there. So the next one that I go to is 3s. So we put 3s, one orbital. We're going to fill that up because we got to get to 34, and we are not there yet. So after 3s, I go up to this beginning of that arrow again, and I have 3p. So 3p, and I make 3 lines for 3 orbitals. And that's going to be filled up as well. Okay, from 3p, I go to 4s. So I'm going to come down here, 4s, one orbital, and I'm going to fill that one up. Still trying to get to 34 electrons. So when you count all your arrows, you stop when you get to 34. So we've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right now we have 20. So we got to keep going. So after 4s, I go to 3d. I go back to the beginning of that arrow. So it's 3d. Now 3d is going to hold a lot of electrons for me. It's got 5 orbitals. And so that's 10 electrons. So we'll fill that up. And then after 3d, I go to 4p. 4p has 3 orbitals. And this is where I need to slow down a little bit. So I had 20. Up here is 30 because 3d added 10 more. So I'm at 30 electrons. I need 4 more. So you put them in one orbital at a time. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So now I have 34 electrons, and I am done. This is the orbital diagram. And then if I were to write it out, it's going to be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, and 4p, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the electron configuration for selenium. The first one is the orbital diagram, and then this is just the regular electron configuration. Okay, in this example, we are not going to do the orbitals, so we are just going to write out the configuration. So we need to know a couple things. One, the order of the energy levels and the sublevels. So I have these arrows to help me with that. And of course, the first thing we have to do is how many electrons does chromium have? So we have to find chromium on the periodic table. And it's right there. It's got 24 electrons. Okay, so put this away. 24 electrons. That's how many we're going to have to distribute in the electron configuration. So we always start with 1s. 1s. S can hold 2 electrons, so we're just going to fill it up. Because remember, we have to get to 24. And then the next thing is 2s. So I did my 1s, and then I come to 2s. So 2s, we're going to fill that up. That gives me 4. And then follow the arrow, it goes to 2p. So 2p, and I'm going to fill that up. P can hold 6 electrons, so 6 plus 2 plus 2, that's 10 electrons so far. We got to keep going. So the next level to write is 3s. So it's 3s, and that holds 2. That puts us to 12. And then go back to the arrows. The next one we write is 3p. So 3p. And p can hold 6. And I go ahead and fill that up because I'm still not there yet. So 10, that's 18 at this point. And the next one I'm going to is 4s. 4s2. We're going to go ahead and fill that up. So right now I'm at 20 electrons. And you look at your arrows. The next one I write is 3d. So 3d, and then I've got 4 electrons left. So 4. So this is the electron configuration for chromium. So basically you need to know that S can hold 2, P can hold up to 6, D can hold up to 10, and F can hold up to 14. So you know that, and then you have these arrows that show you the order to put them in, and you just fill it up until you get to the amount of electrons that you need. Okay, one more example. No orbitals, just straight electron configuration. So once again, the first thing we have to do is pull the periodic table. How many electrons does calcium have? So we find calcium on the periodic table. It's right here. 20 electrons. Okay, that's what we needed to know, so we can put that back. 20 electrons. That's how many electrons I need to distribute in this electron configuration. I use my arrows to let me know where I start. I start at 1s. We always start at 1s. So 1s, and I'm going to put 2 in there because that's just 2. And then the next one is 2s, 2s, 2. And then the next one is 2p. So 2p, and I'm going to go ahead and fill that up. That gives me 10 electrons right there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so after 2p comes 3s. So 3s2, because that's just 12. After 3s comes 3p. So 3p, 6. So that's 18. We're now at 18 electrons. So the next one I go to is 4s. And I've got 2 left to put in there. So 4s2. So this is the electron configuration for calcium.